Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here's a look at some of the stories we have lined up for you tonight. A judge says no evidence of wrongdoing on the Premier's part after investigating allegations of corruption over health contracts in the province. And the province orders teachers to return to the classroom October 20th, but the union says not until class sizes are fixed. And the feds say they're cracking down on cross-border traffic of illegal drugs, guns, and cars by hiring 1,000 more border guards.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. The province has released a judge's final report into what's become known as CorruptCare. Former Manitoba Chief Judge Raymond Wyant investigated allegations of corruption over health contracts in the province to determine whether any staff at the Health Ministry, Alberta Health Services, or companies involved in the contracts properly disclosed and addressed any potential conflicts of interest. This all stemmed from a wrongful dismissal lawsuit filed earlier in the year by former head of AHS and Thana Mensalopoulos. In his investigation, Judge Wyant analyzed over 2 million documents and interviewed 26 individuals. He's found no evidence of wrongdoing by Premier Danielle Smith, any minister or political staff member. However, Wyant's report states that when it came to Alberta Health contracts, 2 staffers who were widely known were in conflicts of interest, but no steps were taken by senior officials. He states AHS decision makers should have exercised greater due diligence to ensure its procurement policies were followed, including conducting a legal review of the purchase order and contracts in question. During a press conference today, Premier Danielle Smith said future decisions will be made through Acute Care Alberta.
I can tell you that a lot of the revelations that we heard are news to us. And there are some good questions about why it is AHS decision makers and managers didn't flag some of these issues of conflict of interest, that they didn't flag some of the irregularities in the procurement processes. I mean, that they skipped steps, didn't even go to a lawyer on a $70 million contract. I can tell you we don't do that in government. In government, my Treasury Board president requires items to go before Treasury Board if they are $2 million or higher. And so what it tells me is that, yeah, AHS procurement was a bit of a mess, and that's the reason why we had to take it over from them. So that's why the future procurement decisions are going to be made through Acute Care Alberta.
The Wyant report points out that roughly $50 million is still outstanding from those contracts. In other provincial news, the UCP government has asked striking teachers to go back to work. According to the Alberta Teachers Association, the province sent a work to rule letter asking teachers to return to the classroom October 20th, which is Monday. But the union response is no, because the government is remaining inflexible in fixing class sizes. ATA President Jason Schilling says teachers cannot go back until the working conditions in the classroom are better, and that includes student-to-teacher ratios.
The letter included a statement that student-teacher ratios could not be included as part of the mediation process. This limitation undermines any attempt at resolution. In the face of such inflexibility, teachers have no choice but to continue strike action. Students cannot thrive in overcrowded classrooms with insufficient supports, and teachers cannot continue to absorb the impact of years of chronic underfunding.
Schilling added that teachers will not be intimidated to be forced back to work. The ATA would like to see a $1 billion increase per year and not the $2 billion over 4 years the province has offered. Education Minister Demetrius Nicolaides expressed disappointment that the union rejected the province's request to go into enhanced mediation, with the Premier adding that a prolonged strike could cause irreparable harm to students.
We asked union leaders to let kids go back to school and bring in a third-party mediator to help us resolve this impasse. By rejecting our offer, students will continue to face the consequences of this strike with no clear path to getting them back. As Minister of Education and Childcare, my highest priority is always Alberta's children and their education. Every decision I make is guided by the principle of putting kids first. The ongoing absence from school is impacting the education of more than 700,000 students across our province. Our offer provided a fair and collaborative process, one that respects teachers and focuses on resolving key issues through enhanced mediation. Instead, the uncertainty continues, placing even more stress on students and families.
The ATA needs to come back to the table with a deal that is grounded in reality. After about 3 weeks, a strike of this nature would reach the threshold of causing irreparable harm to our students' education. The ATA needs to do this for its members and for all students. If it refuses to do so, we will consider other options to bring the strike to an end.
Smith says the ATA is fixated on a single solution, which has not worked in the past. She goes on to say that some of the solution may include hiring more education assistants or having special needs students working one-on-one with dedicated teams in a separate classroom. Outside of Rogers Place on Thursday, thousands of teachers and supporters rallied as the Premier spoke at the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce State of the Province address. The Alberta teachers' strike is nearing the end of week 2, of which 51,000 ATA members walked off the job.
Our students deserve better. Our students deserve smaller class sizes and more funding so we can adequately teach them. We will always do the best with what we're given.
I think right now there's been an attack on public education, and she's been very apparent about that. And we're fighting not just for the kids in front of us, but for the kids coming through. And our kids deserve a safe, welcoming space where each of them can be heard. And right now, that's not possible. One of my classes, I have 35 kids, and they're all either new to the country or special needs. I can't help them all. They clap whenever an EA comes into the room because they're that excited. The marking load is insane, but what's worse is I genuinely cannot help each one of my students.
I feel that if something doesn't change soon, this is going to crumble. And we need more support, and we need it to be a sustainable place where teachers want to teach here. Because if it's not, teachers won't come to Alberta, and then everything's just going to get worse.
And the teachers' strike isn't just affecting teachers and students. Support staff are also feeling the brunt. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, or CUPE, managed to halt the mass layoffs of educational staff by the Holy Spirit Catholic School Division in Lethbridge. On October 15th, CUPE demanded the division to rescind the layoff notices for 200 support staff, and the notice was revoked on the following day on October 16th. The president of CUPE Local 1825, Joanne Lavkulik, says we cannot risk our support staff being forced to find other work. Students need familiar faces to be there and welcome them back when the strike is over. Last week, Education Minister Demetrius Nicolaides issued a statement informing school boards that there will be no cuts to funding for support staff during the current Alberta Teachers Association strike. He said, quote, "I expect school boards to use the funding they've been given to keep EAs on the job." The federal government says it's fulfilling that campaign promise as part of a plan to crack down on cross-border traffic in drugs, illegal guns, and stolen cars. Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasangari announced today that the government's upcoming fall budget will include funding to hire 1,000 more Canada Border Service Agency officers. According to the minister, this will cost about $618 million over 5 years, which will cover the training, hiring, and deployment of these additional CBSA officers.
The focus of the 1,000 additional CBSA officers is to ensure that our agency has the best available men and women who could ensure the security of the border, but also do critical enforcement within Canada. This adds to the 10,000 plus personnel who are at the border right now. With the announcement yesterday of the 1,000 RCMP officers, this will greatly enhance our capability at the borders, ports of entry, as well as enforcement within Canada.
Ottawa will also boost the CBSA recruitment stipend for the first time in 2 decades, lifting it from $125 to $525 a week. The federal immigration minister is speaking out about a new border security bill that's before MPs. Lena Diab says the revised legislation known as C-12 would give Ottawa new powers to limit permanent and temporary immigration applications, which she says would have been useful during the pandemic. The bill would also cancel existing documents when the government deems it to be in the public interest. Cabinet would have to authorize any such orders, and they would be temporary. South of the border, U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed his Ukrainian counterpart, President Vladimir Zelenskyy, for talks at the White House today. Trump has signaled he's not ready to sell Kyiv the Tomahawk long-range missile system that the Ukrainians say they desperately need in the fight against Russia. The meeting with Zelenskyy comes a day after Trump had a lengthy phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the conflict.
Tomahawks are a big deal. But one thing I have to say, we want Tomahawks also. We don't want to be giving away things that we need to protect our country. We have a very strong country right now. We have a strong military. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. I want to get this war over.
Trump is expected to meet with Putin in Budapest in about 2 weeks. Lethbridge Polytechnic is ready to celebrate their fall graduates during their convocation this weekend. One student has been granted recognition for her efforts and subsequently named valedictorian. Mary Lo Masiliano came to Lethbridge from the Philippines 2 years ago and will be graduating from the Computer Information Technology program. She credits the faculty and her classmates for being very accommodating during her time as a student.
Well, it was really hard work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But yeah, it really feels great to be honored with your hard work, to get the recognition that you've put in. I plan on going back to IT compliance, and I'm fortunate enough to have landed a role which I will be starting soon. So yeah, I'll be working in IT. You really have to put in the work. If you want to get somewhere, you have to put in the work. But aside from just working hard, work smart as well. Leverage the tools that you have. And be adaptable. There are going to be changes, unexpected ones. Just be adaptable and be open to it. And yeah, work smart. Make things work for you so that everything will also turn out well for you.
Mary Lo Massilino will lead the procession of graduates and speak at the convocation ceremony, which occurs at the Vel Matiola Gymnasium at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Prior to Monday's municipal election, the University of Lethbridge invited the city's candidates for mayor and councilors last week for a forum, giving students a chance to educate and determine what they want their next city government to look like. The university student union president says the contribution of students and young people in politics is vital for the direction of the city.
I mean, the student vote is such a big vote in Lethbridge. If all students are able to mobilize themselves and put their voice out there, a lot of really big changes can happen for the youth and a lot of the younger population here in Lethbridge, which will continue to make change for the years to come. During that forum, I think it was really evident that transit was one of the biggest issues for students. As we live in a bit of a food desert, having to transport is one of the most important things for students, be able to move around the city and be able to explore and even just get basic needs like food, be able to get employment. So it's very important that transit is here for students. I think one of the biggest pieces is that students are starting to realize that they do have a change and an effect in government. And I think this has been a big opportunity, having candidates come to the campus and be able to talk to them one-on-one to see what are things that they see eye to eye with, be able to affect some of the policies and notice that they're not just bystanders, that they're actual voters that can change the future of here in Lethbridge.
Voting for the municipal election is coming up this Monday, the 20th. Classes are still on hold due to the teachers' strike, but hunger does not stop. And with this in mind, the Mindful Munchies School Lunch Program resumed operations just 3 days after the strike began on October 9th. The only difference is instead of Lethbridge Food Bank delivering lunches directly to schools, the meals must be picked up at the food drive-thru, set up specifically for this purpose. RBCN's Heidi Echeverria visited the charity to see how this temporary version of the program works.
It's a drive-through, so people could come in. We do have signage up, so it's in our west compound of the Lethbridge Food Bank, where we're located at 1016 2nd Avenue South.
There, in the food bank's kitchen, a team of volunteers prepare lunches. With that meal, some students could complete all 3 of their meals for the day.
Folks can either drive through the parking lot or they can walk up. You do not have to be a client to access this program. It is for anybody in the community who has school-age children or taking care of school-age children or no school-age children. They just simply need to drive in. We have a table set up from 11 to 1. We require no documentation. We just need to know how many children, what school, and if you're wanting a lunch just for that day or for the whole week. Anybody else who's not a client with us can just simply drive through or walk into our parking lot.
While some students spend their free time at home or on other activities, others, however, prefer to dedicate part of their free time helping others.
I volunteer here now because of the strike in the schools. I don't miss going to school. The main reason I'm volunteering here is because my mom took me. She said, maybe you could come and volunteer with me, and I said yes. I do like playing video games, but when I'm volunteering at Lethbridge Food Bank, I just forget about video games. I like volunteering and packing lunches for kids because it's helpful to them because they cannot buy their own food and lunches, so that really helps them out. I already got like 30 hours of volunteering done, and that really helps you with your journey up the college. I like standing up front the most because it gets me talking with a lot of different people, nationalities, and different religions.
The Mindful Munches program delivered over 70,000 lunches in Lethbridge during the 2024-2025 school year, contributing to the global effort to combat child malnutrition, which, according to the UNICEF, affects approximately 190 million children under 5 worldwide. For Bridge City News, I'm Heidi Echavarria.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for that. This weekend in Lethbridge, there is a very special opportunity to see how you can make a difference in the lives of children in Africa. The Alberta-based nonprofit organization Home of Hope will be screening an award-winning documentary called Meant for More. Here's a clip.
Number one reason babies are thrown away in the garbages and in the slum of Nairobi are victims of incest or prostitution. They're just doing anything they can to make 50 cents to get some rice to eat today.
We felt, should we just wait until a baby is abandoned? Then we realized that we can solve this situation by empowering these women. Taking a child into our home or sponsoring a child from the Dream Center has a great impact into one child after many years will change the society and the community.
Life can just get so fulfilling when you do what God wants you to do.
Brian Thompson is founder and operations director of Home of Hope. He tells BCN that while the documentary tells the story of a baby being rescued by George Aquilo, that baby, named Samuel, has grown up.
And now over the last 12, 13 years, here's Samuel now growing up into becoming a successful little boy, handsome, doing his schoolwork. And what's fun, we give updates to our sponsors every 6 months. And I saw on Samuel's sponsor card that someday I want to be a doctor. Now another card, maybe 8 years old, I want to be a doctor. And he was just adopted by a doctor and his wife. And I just believe God has more for every person. Maybe some people that have never gone to church. You don't have to go to Africa like me to do something. It's just God has a plan for all of us. We're on this planet for a reason, and we can discover that we're meant for more, and he has another chapter for all of us.
The documentary Meant for More will be shown Sunday at City Light Church at 9 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. The church is located at 4101 20th Avenue South. Canada Post is promising to protect rural mail delivery as part of sweeping changes announced by the federal government last month. In an update on a plan to get its business back on track, the Crown Corporation says it's ensuring vital postal services for rural, remote, and Indigenous communities will be protected. Procurement Minister Joel Lightbound gave Canada Post 45 days as of September 25th to come up with a plan and offer a series of changes to the Postal Services mandate that included an end to the moratorium on closing rural post offices. The update comes after leaders from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers met with Lightbound amid efforts to push the minister to reverse course on sweeping changes, which it argues tramples on the ongoing collective bargaining process. The Edmonton Chamber of Commerce says Alberta's teachers' strike has hurt businesses. President and CEO Doug Griffiths says the chamber does not take a side in the labor dispute, but is hoping it gets resolved quickly. Griffiths says businesses are losing employees who need to stay home to take care of their kids and losing foot traffic with fewer people going to work. The Bank of Canada will get a final look at Stats Canada's inflation data on Tuesday before its next interest rate decision later in the month. A poll of economists expects year-over-year inflation accelerated in September to 2.2%. That would be up from 1.9% in August, but others say there could be a bigger jump to 2.4% as prices at the pumps ticked higher last month. The central bank's next interest rate decision is set for October 29th. Now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was down 350 points to 30,108. The Dow was up 238 points to 46,190. The S&P 500 was up 34 points to 6,664, and the Nasdaq was up 117 to 22,679. West Texas Intermediate oil was up 8 cents to 57.54 U.S. per barrel. Natural gas was up 7 cents to $2.99 U.S. Gold was down 78.50 to 42.49.91 U.S. an ounce, and silver was down $2.32 to 51.88 U.S. an ounce. Feed wheat is at $6.99 per bushel, barley is at $5.55, canola is at $13.95, and corn is at $7.29 per bushel. Live cattle October contract was down $3.70 to $240.25. Feeder cattle October contract was down $7.72 to $371.95, and lean hogs December contract was down 22 cents to $82.37. And the Canadian dollar was up over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 71.30 cents US.
Recapping one of our top stories, Alberta has released former Manitoba Chief Judge Raymond Wyant's final report into what's become known as CorruptCare. He investigated allegations of corruption over health contracts in the province after analyzing over 2 million documents and interviewing 26 people. He found no evidence of wrongdoing by Premier Danielle Smith, any minister or political staff member. However, 2 staffers who were widely known were in conflicts of interest, but no steps were taken by senior officials. Alberta's municipal elections take place on Monday, October 20th, and we finish our series of interviews with candidates vying for positions on City Council. Coming up next, I speak with mayoral candidate Michael Petrakis, who has a very out-of-the-box approach to local politics. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.